Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. I'm gonna whine for like 2 seconds and then we'll get into the core of the video. I filmed 2 separate videos this week, both of which the footage I had to scrap for separate, completely unrelated reasons. It would take me way too long to explain right now. It's Saturday. I normally post Sunday. I just realized I can't use the footage from the second video I filmed, but I really want to go to the solstice yoga class they're doing today at my yoga studio, so I don't want to like take time putting a bunch of makeup on and whatever. So you know what? We're rolling with it. No makeup, no edits, just 2 girly pops talking about the internet's pariah this week, Ali Hazelwood. I didn't even take the time to fix this poor Waddle Dee. My cats mess with these all the time. It's light bulb Kirby, if you couldn't tell. Ali Hazelwood, beloved author of The Love Hypothesis most famously, but many other books as well. Bride is another really good one if you're looking for recs. Recently was on a panel, I believe over the weekend, and she said something truly so disturbing, so disheartening. It's terrifying that there are people in our world that think this way, and I will tell you what she said, but I do just really want to establish that I'm just repeating what she said. I don't want this to get clipped. I don't want anyone to think that it's me saying this. I'm just trying to explain the situation, but it's very disturbing and viewer discretion is advised. She said, I'm sorry, it's just really emotional for me. She said that Peeta is useless. Yes, that's right, Peeta, Hunger Games character. She said he's useless. And I kid you not, she has been driven off the internet for this. In case it's not obvious to anybody, I was being sarcastic. This is ridiculous. And I don't even want to say this is ridiculous of y'all because I know it's not my viewers doing this. I know my subscribers are not sending Ali Hazelwood hate over this. Are you joking? It's crazy that people can commit actual crimes. People can scam people. People can genuinely harm people online and they don't get driven off the internet. But we're this pissed off. But we're deplatforming Ali Hazelwood, Notorious Angel, for her choice of team in the Hunger Games love triangle? Are people being so for real right now? Like, I actually still cannot believe that this happened, that this went down. Like, are you joking? And to be fair, we do not know exactly how much hate Ali Hazelwood was getting. We know she was getting hate. We know her comments on Instagram were flooded with people who were really mad about this stuff. Presumably she was getting DMs as well. And then we know she deactivated her Instagram account. But to be fair, people who have done worse things potentially got more hate than Ali Hazelwood got for her thing and just didn't delete their account, which kind of makes sense if you think about somebody who's a good person who would be upset at the idea of upsetting people. It might impact them a lot more to be the subject of an internet hate train than somebody else. So just to be fair, we don't know exactly how much hate Ali Hazelwood was getting in comparison to other people on the internet who have done significantly worse things. I don't even want to say significantly worse, actually, like bad things in general. Like what Ali Hazelwood did isn't even bad. It's not that she did something kind of bad but other people have done worse things. It's like this isn't bad at all. Oh my god, Blather's little eyes, look at them. Look at how he's just poking up over them. That's actually really funny. Sorry, Curbs, my cats really like to squish him. They come and they knead on him. So like I said, she said this at a panel and there is a video of it. I'm gonna play it for you. She's the second woman in the video. It's not that long. I'm just gonna play you the whole entire clip of what I have, and it's a re-upload of somebody who doesn't agree with the hate that Ali Hazelwood has gotten, so there's some text on the screen of that person giving their commentary, but that's their commentary and not mine. Check the clip out.
The craziest thing is that he keeps being like, why don't you love me? And she's like, all my family and friends are gonna die and I wanna run away. And he's like, yeah, but like if Peeta comes, I'm not coming. He's a terrible, mean, selfish person. No. Peeta is useless. Peeta is useless. Look, I'm talking. Look, everything. How the man you know is going to allow for his woman to run away with him with her like sometimes baking side piece stuff up. I have an arrow through my heart right now.
What are you guys talking about? There's a woman named Suzanne.
In 1999, she worked on a TV show for children.
Yeah, that's what she got, again, driven off the internet for saying. Bear in mind, she didn't even get to fully get her thought out. Where do I even begin? Okay. So from what we can tell from the video, and bear in mind, we don't know what question was asked by the audience or the moderator that prompted this discussion, but the first person speaking seems to be Team Peeta and is explaining why she is Team Peeta. And some of what she starts talking about is about how Katniss has gone through this really hard time. She's gone through something super traumatic. When Katniss comes back from the Hunger Games, Gale's whole thing is like, I'm really bummed that you kind of bonded with this other guy in the arena and that the whole narrative became about the two of you being in love because I thought you and I were in love. And it's like, bro, she just went through something horrifically traumatic. She was just trying to survive. She made it through with her life. She's just trying to heal from that after the fact. She has no idea how she feels or where her emotions are at. And he's like whining in her face. Like, do you like me back? Meh, 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 meh. And you guys know this is how I feel about Gale too. I talked about this a lot over the course of my Hunger Games series. A lot of people have this opinion on Gale because he does very much give that vibe. But she says at the end, you know, when Gale wants to run away and Katniss says, can we bring Peeta or whatever. I've got to be honest, I don't remember that conversation from Catching Fire. Maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, but I don't really feel like there's an explicit moment where they're actually talking about whether or not they would bring Peeta with them if they ran away. I feel like their conversation is more just about running away, and then Katniss says she doesn't want to leave her family behind, and Gale is a little bit like, you'd have to leave everybody behind. We couldn't take people with us, whatever. And they also have the conversation before she leaves for the Hunger Games. I feel like they have this talk twice, but before she leaves for the Hunger Games, she wouldn't be emotionally attached to Peeta at all. But either time, I don't think they talk about Peeta explicitly, but I digress. The first woman who speaks ends out her point with, then Gale doesn't want Katniss to bring Peeta with if they were to run away. And Allie Hazelwood responds with, Peeta is useless. So then the narrative became that Allie Hazelwood said that Peeta was useless. If we watch it in the context of the clip, it seems as though she's saying that in response to Gale not wanting to bring Peeta with them if they were to run away. And so some people are saying she didn't even mean Peeta's useless in the series or that he's useless as a person, but just that he's kind of useless at survival, which is like sort of true. And so like, why would they want him with them if they're escaping? Allow me to present you my opinion on that piece of it specifically. Does it really matter? Does it matter if she meant Peeta is useless as a person in general throughout the series or that he's useless at survival? The fact that people are defending Allie Hazelwood and their defense is, well, she wasn't saying that Peeta is useless in the narrative and she's not saying that Peeta is a useless person. She's just saying he'd be useless at survival. And so what if she was saying he was useless as a person? And so what if she was saying he's useless to the narrative? It's a love triangle from a young adult fiction novel that came out 15 years ago. She could come out and say, I don't think Peeta should have been in there at all, and I wouldn't agree with her, but driving her off the internet? This is crazy. I don't get it. If she was saying Peeta's kind of useless at survival, she's got a fair point there. If she was saying Peeta's kind of useless as a person throughout the series, I don't really agree with that. But you guys know I also don't agree with the opinion that Gale is useless. And people say that all the time about Gale. I could totally see Allie Hazelwood kind of having this as a response when people bring up the Team Gale versus Team Peeta thing, because so many people say that Gale is useless, for her to kind of come back with, well, Peeta's useless too. Like, I could totally see that being her go-to comeback. Let me word it this way. I don't think either of these boys are useless to the narrative, and I made a whole entire video about that. I don't think the love triangle is pointless at all. Some Hunger Games fans think the love triangle in general is pointless. I don't agree with that. I don't feel that way. Made a whole video about it. Feel free to check that out. So I don't think either Gale or Peeta are useless to the narrative. Now, are they useful to the narrative and to the point of the book and to the message that Suzanne Collins is trying to drive across? In my opinion, yes. Does that make the human men within the story, like the fictional characters, useful to the movement? For both of them, also yes, in my opinion. So if she meant either of those things, I disagree. If she really did mean that Peeta is kind of useless from a survival perspective, she's got a little bit of a point. She's got a little bit of a point. He did survive the Hunger Games, yes. The Katniss kind of rescued him. You know what I mean? His like only real survival trait is being able to paint himself with mud to camouflage himself. And he does that in the first Hunger Games and then never again throughout the entire rest of the series. So if that's what she was saying, she's kind of got a point. Just a little bit. But my point is, regardless of what she was trying to say, this reaction is ridiculous. And the thing that's so fascinating to me about it is if you try to find information on the situation now, you're gonna go on TikTok, you're gonna find a bunch of book creators defending Ali Hazelwood, and you're gonna find a bunch of people in those comments agreeing and saying it's so crazy that she got all this hate. So where did the hate come from? How did she end up getting all of this hate if it seems to be that the majority opinion was that the hate was ridiculous? Well, they're starting to figure out more and more that the majority of hate online is sent by a small subset of the population. There are people who enjoy hurting other people. They get joy out of that, and they use the internet as their opportunity to do that anonymously and to get those urges out in a way that isn't going to damage their day in and day out life. Because obviously if they're awful to people in real life, then that's something they could face consequences for. But it's very rare that somebody faces consequences for sending hate online because you can do it anonymously. So it's entirely possible that there's just a bunch of awful people out there who saw this thing go down and thought, oh, here's my opportunity to send a death threat. But those people don't really need opportunities to send a death threat. They'll do it no matter what. So I don't think that really explains why this became a whole thing. Not to mention the fact that she's not the first person to insult Peeta Malark on the internet, nor will she be the last, dare I say it. So why did this become such a big deal? Why do people care so much? How did she end up getting so much hate? I think it's a combination of two things. First of all, some of y'all tie your personal worth to your favorite piece of media to a degree that is unhealthy, and it needs to be said. It's perfectly fine to have a piece of media that means a lot to you. It's perfectly fine to have a piece of media that feels like it was a formative part of your growth. It's perfectly fine to have a piece of media that's a comfort piece of media for you, that you watch all the time or read all the time, that brings you comfort when you're sad, that will always entertain you no matter what. There's nothing wrong with any of this. However, sometimes in those situations, what can happen is because a piece of media feels like such a formative part of us and we love it so much, it can feel like when somebody else insults it, they're insulting us. And that's what's unhealthy. You have to be able to separate. You have to be able to understand this piece of media means a lot to me, but that doesn't mean it's going to mean a lot to other people, and that doesn't even mean everybody's going to enjoy it. In fact, one of the healthiest opinions you can have about the media that you love so much is that it kind of sucks. This thing sucks and I love it. That's how I feel about Twilight. Over the years in my life, people have tried to like one-up me on that. Well, I think Twilight's stupid. Me too, dude. Me too, actually. Is it stupid as hell? Yes. Is it super fun? Absolutely. Do I eat up every second? 100%. Is it the quickest way to cheer me up? You bet. If I'm sad and you don't know what to do about it, put on the first Twilight movie. I promise you 10 minutes in, I'm not even thinking about the thing I was sad about anymore. And that's just how it is for me. You gotta be able to separate those things, because if not, it leads you to do crazy stuff like this. Like I said, it's very hard to find people explaining why they said what they said, but I have seen a few comments of people kind of trying to argue why it was okay to send Ali Hazelwood hate in this situation, but a lot of them are really focused on the idea of saying Peeta is useless as an insult to Suzanne Collins, the author. That's not what Ali Hazelwood was saying, I don't think. She clearly likes the series a lot. She clearly feels passionately about her opinion on the love triangle, so I don't think she's saying the book series is bad or that Suzanne Collins is a bad author. But much like I said about her opinion on Peeta and what people are saying she said, I would also like to say about this, why does it matter? Suzanne Collins is one of the most famous authors of the 21st century. She's on like the Mount Rushmore of copies sold. The Hunger Games is a wildly popular book series that has sold hundreds of millions of copies of books, had blockbuster movie adaptations made, to the point where she can put out prequels a decade later, sell millions of copies, and sell yet another blockbuster film. She's at the top of the industry. She's not some poor defenseless puppy. Even if Ali Hazelwood got on the panel and said, yeah, I don't get the hype, I don't get why Hunger Games is that great, she wouldn't deserve to be driven off the internet for that. It's her opinion on a fictional book series. And as long as she's respectful about the way she phrases that opinion, who cares? But I would just like to reiterate, that's not even what she said. It's clear to me in watching the video that Ali Hazelwood is a big fan of the series. She's a fan of the series. She has an opinion on the love triangle, and she's passionate about her opinion on the series and the love triangle, and she's expressing that passion. You might not agree with her. That doesn't mean she's done anything wrong, and that certainly doesn't mean she doesn't like the book series or that she thinks Suzanne Collins is a bad author. And even if she was, she wouldn't even be in the wrong for saying that. That doesn't mean that nobody could ever say something horrific enough about Suzanne Collins that there would be something wrong with it. I'm just saying, if somebody respectfully publicly said that they didn't understand why Hunger Games was such a hyped series. I don't think it would be a messed up thing to say because of how successful Suzanne Collins has been. So I think a few things happened here. I think she made this comment. I think it got taken wildly out of context. I think people just started saying that she said that Peeta was useless. And then a bunch of rabid fans of the Hunger Games who have way too much of their self-worth tied up in not just their opinions on the series, but apparently their feelings about Peeta Mellark, the character, started sending her hate over this. And I think it snowballed into the camp of people who just don't like Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is not a controversial author, but she is a polarizing author, and I am going to explain the difference there. She has never, to my knowledge, feel free to correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but as far as I'm aware, she has never really had a major controversy. People don't think she's like problematic. She's never said anything super offensive. For the most part, people consider her to be what the kids call an unproblematic queen. That being said, not everybody loves her books. They're very fan fiction style. She was originally a fan fiction author, and so even if you like romance, if you do not like that fan fiction-y style in a romance, you're probably not going to like her books. And the unfortunate fact of the matter is there are so many people out there who cannot accept that they don't like something and that there's nothing wrong with the thing they don't like, they just don't like it. We have seen on the internet how this has led to witch hunts of creators and authors where people don't like their work or they find the person annoying or whatever it might be, so they try to hunt, they try to find something that is wrong with that person so that they can say that's why they don't like them, because they for some reason can't conceptualize that maybe they just don't like them, but that doesn't mean that that person has done anything wrong. Not everybody's going to be your cup of tea, and that's okay. So I think her comment got taken out of context. I think a bunch of people who have way too much of their own self-worth as a person tied up in Peeta Mellark specifically got a hold of these comments and got really mad about them and started this hate train. And then a bunch of people who don't like Ali Hazelwood's books, who have been hunting for a more tangible reason to not like her, jumped on the hate train because they just don't like her. And I think it kind of turned into this mob mentality thing. This can actually happen on the internet. They have sort of proven that the behavior of people online on social networking sites very closely mimics the behavior of crowds, specifically when it comes to mob mentality. So if you've never heard of mob mentality, it's kind of like a crowd of people, a group of people can rile up negative emotion in each other and enter this almost sort of like battle haze is what they think the actual like evolutionary benefit of it was. So it makes you kind of very angry, and the purpose of the mob and whatever you're attacking, like it will make you do things that you otherwise probably wouldn't do. And once you get out of the mob, you look back on it and you're like, why did I do that? I would never normally do something like that. This can happen on the internet as well. Like a Twitter mob literally is mimicking the behavior of mob mentality IRL. And so I think there's a lot of people who just got caught up in the mob mentality of it all. They got sucked into how mad everybody else was. They got sucked into this battle haze sort of situation. And Ali Hazelwood was their enemy in that moment. And then they were just sending her hate because they thought it was justified in the moment. And that's why I think we've seen such a switch flip now. It's like she made the comments, she was getting a mountain of hate, and then she deleted her account, and then she's getting a mountain of defense, and it's almost hard to find anybody who is arguing now that she deserved that hate, which means some of y'all have flipped camps, because the book communities online are not that big. They're not so big that you could have an entire army of people attacking Ali Hazelwood, only for there to be an entire separate army of people who are speaking so loudly about how that hate wasn't justified that they're drowning out the voices of the people who sent the hate. If that much hate was being sent, then people have to have flipped sides for the universal seeming opinion now to be that she didn't do anything wrong and she didn't deserve that. And before any of you comment like, yeah, the internet's a horrible place, why does anybody talk about this stuff anymore? We all know this kind of thing happens. Absolutely not. Because just because something is an unfortunate side effect of this thing we call the internet doesn't mean that we can't call it out and talk about it. And while I know that none of my own subscribers were in that hate train, because I have faith in y'all and I know you're not like that, this video might pass across the recommendeds of people who did join that hate mob. And it's hard for me to even explain why you shouldn't do it, because it's just something I would never do. I can't even conceptualize it. I can't conceptualize sending a hate comment, let alone sending a death threat. I just can't even picture it. And so I don't know what drives people to do those sorts of things. I've talked about how there's some people that just really enjoy upsetting people, but there's also people who just maybe seemingly really care about the Hunger Games so much, or really hate Ali Hazelwood's other books so much that they think this sort of behavior is okay. But if I can convince one person out there that it's not, then it was worth talking about anyway. Just think twice before you send a DM, before you comment something, before you do anything. Remember that we did not evolve to understand that the person on the other side of the screen, on the other side of our little text conversations, is also a human being. And I don't mean consciously, I mean subconsciously. There's a lot of subconscious processing that goes on in our communication that are not active thoughts that we ever have. And there's an inherent dehumanization that happens when we interact with other people online or through our screens, is probably a better way to say it, where because we did not evolve to understand this is a form of communication, if you can't see somebody's face, especially if you can't hear their voice, if everything's just being done over text specifically, your body has no concept of the fact that you are communicating with another human being. You might consciously understand that, but your subconscious does not understand that. So what you're willing to say, what you're willing to do, all of that is wildly different. So there are a lot of people who say, oh, people say things online that they never say to somebody's face because they're cowards. It's actually not because they're cowards. It's not because they're afraid of the smoke. It's because genuinely those people are dehumanized to you. Naturally, when you're interacting with them online, you might cognitively understand that there are people operating most of these accounts. I have to say most now because there's so many bots. But your body doesn't have the same like natural gates of saying things, and the inherent respect that you might grant most human beings just naturally, just without even thinking about it, it just won't be there. And that's why if you're in an argument with somebody via text, a lot of people recommend reading stuff out loud to yourself. Don't just read it out loud. Read it out loud and imagine that somebody whose opinion you care about is listening to the thing you are reading out loud. So somebody who you love, who you want to like you, who you want to respect you in your decisions, imagine they're in the room with you and that you are reading the message that you're typing out loud to them. And if you feel embarrassed, don't hit post. And again, it's hard for me to even conceptualize because I don't have to do this ever, because I don't ever get the urge to do this. I don't ever send hate comments. I don't understand this. I cannot wrap my brain around it. But I know from my like CS training and stuff like that, that you have to remind yourself that the only way to combat that dehumanization that happens through interacting through the phone is to remind yourself of your own humanity. Because like I said, no matter how much you consciously tell yourself that you're talking to another person online, your subconscious lizard brain will never understand that. It does not get it. And so the only way for you to screen your behavior to ensure that you are not dehumanizing the person that you're talking to is to remind yourself of your own individuality and your own responsibility behind your words. Because you are responsible for what you say, even if your account is anonymous and even if nobody online will ever tie it back to you. Ultimately, you are still responsible for those words and you're still responsible for the harm that you're causing. And that's the only way to really protect yourself from it. So if you find yourself sending these sorts of comments sometimes and then you look back and you regret it and you don't understand why you do it, or when people start getting called out for sending this kind of stuff, you have a pause moment where you're like, wait, people are right, this wasn't that big a deal, I don't know why I sent that comment. That's probably why, and that's the way to prevent yourself from doing it in the future. She did not deserve this, and I just hope that she's seeing all of the people defending her now and understanding that she's welcome back to the internet whenever she's ready for it, and we're ready to ride for her, because this shit's crazy. The people who commented this stuff are wrong for that. Will never cease to amaze me how heated people get about other people's casual opinions about fiction. I get comments all the time from people that are just so rude, so disrespectful, people getting so heated about what I said about fiction. Fiction. It's gonna be okay. Somebody can disagree with your opinion on your favorite piece of media, and it's really gonna be okay. And I'll add, you don't even have to love it less. If somebody insults your favorite piece of media and you look at what they said and you think, that's valid, that actually doesn't have to have any impact over how much you love said thing either. And so sometimes I think dissonance can really drive people insane, because they'll really love something, but then somebody else will insult it and they'll be like, ooh, I kind of like see a point in what you're saying, so I need to shut this down before I think about it too hard, because then I can't love said thing that much, and I don't want that. That's not true. You can love whatever you want to love, no matter how shitty it is. I love Twilight. I'm the first to joke about how goofy Twilight is. I have an entire video series that is just me over and over and over again joking about how goofy Twilight is. It's my favorite book series of all time. I could literally always pick up any of the books and read them and be entertained, except for New Moon. I love it. It's my favorite book series of all time. And it sucks. It sucks ass. And most of the criticisms of it are very valid. And it's my favorite book series of all time. And none of you can take that away from me. And that's okay. And it's gonna be okay. What do you guys think? Did you watch this whole thing go down? How are you feeling about it? Let me know in the comments down below. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!